Welcome back. In this lecture, we'll understand about Docker networking, how we can make Docker containers to be part of various networks. Let us see step by step with an example. Assume that I'm starting a container with name A. During startup, I can say that this container can be part of host network. So this is the host machine, and of course, on host machine there will be network interface. Let us say it is ETH0. You can configure such that the container will be part of host network, or you can say that this container is isolated from any network. You can specify the container network as none. There are three options actually. You can specify the container can be part of host network, or it should be isolated from any network, none, or you can specify that your container can be part of some other network. By default in Docker, whenever you create Docker, it will create a bridge network. Okay. In earlier networking example, in networking lecture, we discussed about how we can create a virtual switch by creating a bridge network. So by default in Docker, it will create a bridge network, and of course you can also create your own network. How? Let me show you. I am into the Docker VM. I can say Docker network ls. You can see by default there are three types of networks. Host network, which is nothing but, as I told you, you can make the container part of the network of host, or you can specify the network as none, or you can specify the default bridge network. So what I can do is I can also create my own network by using Docker network create, Docker network create Siva net. Okay, so let us see if it can create a different network. Okay, I'm creating Docker network create Siva net. So this will create a network. Now if I say Docker network ls, it will show my Siva net. Now what I can do is whenever I'm launching my own container, I can specify that it will be part of this Siva net. So what I did is I created a network of type Siva net. Then what? I can attach my container to this Siva net. As we understood in earlier networking video, what will happen? This bridge is nothing but similar to a switch where it can have some ports. So what do I mean by connecting a container to this bridge network? You can create a virtual Ethernet cable and attach one interface to the container, another interface to the bridge. Like that you are connecting. You can also create one more container, container B, and again you can attach it to this bridge network. So this A and B are part of same network. A will be able to communicate with B. So this is the idea. So now let us see. I have some applications. I want both of them to connect over a particular network. Let us see how we can use it. So um, I'll just go to my Docker training folder, which I cloned from my Git repository. There is there's a folder creating image for Java app. I'll cd into this 02. Okay. There is a Docker file and there is one jar file called as customer rest.jar, which I created in Java. So let me show you this Docker file. See, I am creating my own image from Ubuntu image. The next command is apt get. Then the next command is I'm making a directory called as /my app. Then I'm copying current folder slash customer rest.jar into my app folder. Then I know that my jar is going to start a Tomcat server on 8080 port. I need to tell that this image internally uses 8080. So I use a command called as expose 8080 port. Then what is the command to start my application? CMD is used to tell what is the command, java-jar, and I'm passing something called as hyphen d spring dot profile dot act profiles dot active is equals to. I can pass the value. This would be the environment variable which my jar is using. Okay, you'll understand more about this if you know Java. So I'll show you my customer rest jar which I created. This is my customer rest. Here, my customer rest application will be connecting to a database. Here, when I'm giving the database URL, I gave the host name of database as MySQL. Okay, fine. So there are two YML files, application.yml and application-prod.yml. Now, if I pass spring.profiles.active is equals to prod, the value of this placeholder, if I pass as my profile as prod, then the application will pick up from application-prod.yml and it will connect to MySQL database. The host name is MySQL. But if I don't pass any value for this my profile, then it will pick up the application.yml. It will connect to a in-memory database which I am using as H2. This is a in-memory database. So this is my Docker file, and this command will be finally used. So for my image, there is a environment variable, my profile, which I can pass. And of course, I'm using JDK 11. I'm installing JDK 11 also here. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a image, customer rest image. So Docker images. Okay, already custom rest is there. Let me delete it. Docker image. Sorry, Docker RMI customer rest. Okay, this will delete. Now I'm going to create it freshly. I'm in the same folder where Docker file is present. So Docker build, I want to build and tag it with a name cust rest. And current folder is going to be my build context. If the file name is Docker file, I don't need to pass -f option. -f Docker file. But if my file name is Docker file, I don't need to pass the file name. It will pick up automatically. So this will create an image. Yes. So image is created. Now if I say Docker images, it will list my customer rest. Now I'll simply run Docker run customer rest. Let us see what will happen. Sorry, I gave cust rest, right? Sorry, cust rest. So this is start Java application finally. See, it is a Spring application which I wrote, and I didn't pass the environment variable called as my profile. So you can see that it internally used something called as H2 database. Here, if you see this H2 dialect, that means it is using in-memory database H2. Okay, fine. Now, I will stop this. I want to one more terminal. I'll get one more terminal by using this. Okay, in the other terminal, Docker PS. Let me kill this Docker rm-f 5e55. Okay, so the container is removed. Fine. Now I want to start MySQL database, and also I wanted to be part of a network. So I created a network, right? Docker network ls. I want to start MySQL database and I want it to be part of my network. So how? Let us say Docker run -d. I want it to run in background -d. Dash name is equals to MySQL. So I want to give the name of my container as MySQL. -e MySQL underscore root underscore password is equals to root, and another environment variable -e MySQL underscore database is equals to customer DB, because my application which I'm going to start is expecting a database with name customer DB. I want the database name to be customer DB, and my SQL is the image name. But I want it to be part of the network SivaNet. So network is equals to SivaNet, and network alias is equals to MySQL. I'll tell you the use of network alias. If I give network alias within this network, by using this name, I'll be able to connect to this container. Okay. Network is equals to, sorry. Yep. The container is started. Now I'll say Docker PS, Docker container inspect. Uh, MySQL is a container name, and I'll pipe it to more. I want to see the network into which this belongs to. So we'll go down. I want to see the networks. Um, you can see that it is part of network SivaNet. It is part of this network SivaNet, and the alias is MySQL. Right. So I made this MySQL database to cut MySQL container to connect to this bridge SivaNet. Okay. Then MySQL is running. Fine. Uh, Clear. Now Docker PS. It is running. Fine. Now I want to start my customer rest. Docker images. Yeah, this is the customer rest. Now I want to start customer rest. So Docker run cust rest. But if you see the Docker image, let me go to this Docker training. Yeah, if you see my customer rest actually is starting Tomcat on 8080. So within the container, the port used is 8080. But will I be able to access it from this host machine? No, right? It is part of this particular network, not on my host network. So what I need to do is I want to expose this port. I want to do some port forwarding. So what I want is on the host, I want to put 30080 to forward the traffic to 8080 on this particular container. I want to do some port forwarding. So basically, port forwarding is nothing but adding NAT entries on the host machine so that whenever a host gets a request on this port 30080, it will forward to 8080 of the container. So how to do port forwarding? So what I can do is, um, while running, I can use an option -p 30080 colon 8080. That means I'm saying whatever traffic comes on 30080 on host should be forwarded to 8080. It is nothing but configuring NAT tables on the host. It will do that automatically. We don't need to worry. And also, I need to say that it should start on a network. Dash dash network is equals to SivaNet, the same network in which MySQL was started. And also, if you see, I want to start my customer REST application by activating a profile called as prod. So I need to pass this environment variable value my profile dash e, sorry, here dash e my profile is equals to prod. So if I pass this environment variable, then while starting the Java application, the spring.profiles.active will be passed as prod. And if the profile is prod, my application will try to connect to, will actually load from application dash prod.yml and it will connect to database, and the host name which it will use is MySQL. Remember, MySQL is nothing but the network alias which I gave while starting my MySQL container. So let us start. I'll start this. Let us see. See, you can see that the profile name is prod. Sorry, it went up. Here you can see the activated profile is prod because I passed my environment variable. My profile is equals to prod, and there are no exceptions. It internally used MySQL dialect. Okay, fine. Now, um, let us see. Once my application is connected to MySQL, it will create some tables automatically. Let us see if the data is populated or not. I want to connect to MySQL, this one VM. So what I'll do is Docker PS. This is MySQL container. Docker exec dash it. MySQL is a container name. Bash. Yep, I got it. So I want to connect to MySQL using the username as root and password as root. So dash dash user is equals to root dash dash password is equals to root. So I'll say show databases. There's a database with name customer DB already created. Use customer DB. Okay. Show tables. There is one table called as customer. Select star from customer table. This will give one customer ID which was actually inserted by my application. This proves that my application was able to talk to this database. Okay, now I want to connect my application. I want to actually query my customer REST application and see the customers. Actually, my customer REST application is exposing a REST API, and if I give a request to slash customers, it will give me customers list. So actually, what is IP of my VM? The IP of my VM is this one, 34. I actually used uh, Google Cloud, right? This is my VM. On this, what is the port? Not HTTPS, it is HTTP. On this, what is the port? 30080 slash customers. See, I got an array of customers from my database. Yes. So by using hyphen p option as I started my container, by using hyphen p option, this port 30080 is exposed on the host and I'm able to connect. Fine. So now we understood about networking, how we can make containers part of your own network, how you can create your own network, and how you can make your applications to be part of this network so that they can communicate with each other. And also, you know how to expose a port on your container on the host so that you can actually um, make a request to this container. Suppose if while creating your container, if you give dash dash network as host, you don't need port forwarding because your container will be attached to the host network itself. So you don't need port forwarding if while starting your container you have used an option dash dash network is equals to host. If you have given dash dash network is equals to none, you cannot connect to this container at all because it is not part of any of the network. By default, if you don't give this network option, it will connect to the default network, which is nothing but a bridge network in Docker. So that's about basics of networking. Internally, whenever we are actually creating a network by using Docker network create, it is creating a switch or a bridge network. Whenever you are using dash dash network while creating a container, automatically Docker internally creates a cable connects the connects one port of the cable to the bridge network and another interface to your container so that they are connected. All this happens internally without we doing anything manually. Okay, so now I hope you got the connection between whatever I have discussed in networking concept and also in Docker. That's all. See you in next lecture.